Okay, we are here and we want to solve for x, focusing on a certain type of equations, but also we shall look at inequalities. Like 3 is actually not an equation, it's an inequality, and we'll have a chance to solve these and many more. Right, let's get started. For example, we start with the first question first. How do we solve these particular equations? In a step-by-step fashion. Let us note this. Right, so we start as follows. We focus on number one, and obviously focusing on number one, we are looking at the solutions. We must state this upfront. We are focusing on the solutions, and what are the solutions here? The solutions to these are basically attempts at solving this. So we have x squared minus 7x plus 12 is equal to 0. What do we do here? We need to factorize this. But to factorize this, we take x squared and multiply it by 12. From this, we get 12x squared. Okay, we multiply x squared and 12 on the side. And then now we look for the factors of 12x squared. That will give minus 7x, and those are obvious. They are 4 and 3 because negative 4 and minus 3x, okay? Because if you multiply them, you multiply negative times negative, you get a positive, then 4 times 3 is a 12, and x by x is x squared. And therefore, we're excited with this because now we have then the actual solutions to this. And we then have x squared minus 4x minus 3x plus 12 is equal to 0, which means x into x minus 4 minus 3 into x minus 4 equals 0. Okay, now looking at these with much caution, we recognize the highest common factor, which is x minus 4, and within the parentheses, we then have x minus 3, and the result is 0, and this means x is 4, or x is what? Or x is 3. And these are the solutions to this particular problem. When you take out the highest common factor, you actually imagine crossing it out here after the factoring process, so that you're left with x here and you're left with minus 3 as well. These are the results. Okay, next question. Number 2. With x into 3x plus 5 equals 1, distribute, multiply x with 3x, you multiply x with 5, and let us see what we get. X times 3x gives us 3x squared. X by 5 gives us 5x, and we subtract 1, and the result is what? Is 0. We use the quadratic formula, which says x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All these is divided by twice a. And this is minus b, which is actually minus 5 plus or minus the square root of the b, which is 5 squared, minus 4a is 3, and c is minus 1, and you divide everything by twice a, and a is what? A is 3. So that you have plus or minus here. Okay, so you have 25 plus 12. Right, what is 25 plus 12? Do you know? This is 25 plus 12, 37.
37.
Okay, 37. Check that. And you divide everything by 6.
Yes.
Okay, so we have this problem here in front of us. And then now it remains to just simplify these and get the actual decimals, because the question said you need to obviously solve this to 2 decimals. And therefore, to 2 decimal places, then we get the actual result out of this. So, which means, as you continue the solution to number 2, x equals minus 5 plus the square root of 37. Or x equals minus 5 minus the square root of 37. And
the answer is 0.18.
Okay, right, yes. So x is approximately 0.18, 2 decimal places, or x is approximately what?
Negative 1.85.
0.85. Right, so this becomes the answer. This becomes the answer. Number 3. We have x squared less than minus 2x plus 5 plus 15. Excuse. Okay, try to solve this one.
Okay.
Okay, because it's just a recap, but yeah, you can just try to solve this one and see how far you get. Let me know when you're done, please.
Okay.
Just recapping on some basic equations. Right, just recapping on some basic equations. Okay. Just a recap on basic equations. Okay. So it's an interesting one if you're solving it. Now, a couple of things are very important here. It is to transpose all the non-zero terms to one side of the inequality, and this is what we get. We multiply x squared and minus 15. So this is minus 15x squared.
Yes, and the things
Okay.
it's positive,
What are the
3
factors?
positive 3 and negative 5.
Well done. It's positive 3x and minus 5x. So those are yeah, okay. The largest number will have to take the largest
yes.
number will have to take the sign, dude. Because
Yes.
yeah, because it is plus 2x, so 5 must take the plus. And therefore 3 will have to take the opposite, which is the negative. Right, so that we have x squared plus 5x minus 3x minus 15 is less than 0. Right, so we have x into x plus 5 minus 3 into x plus 5. x plus 5 into x minus 3 is less than 0. So these are the factors of this. And now we continue to look at 3, and 3 would be therefore x plus 5 into x minus 3. X plus 5 into x minus 3 is less than 0. Okay, there are certain things we call critical values. Right, let us look at the critical values. Right, so the critical values are x equals minus 5, x equals 3. And then this means that at this point, we have the following. Is draw a rough sketch of a possible graphical representation of the constraint inequality, and we have minus 5 here and 3 there, but when the inequality here is strictly negative, less than 0, it means that we're looking at where this is certainly below the x-axis in the graphical representation. Okay, below the x-axis is between minus 3 and 3 exclusive or exclusively, and therefore we have minus 5 less than x less than 3. So it is only between, this is how we say x lies between minus 5 and 3. Okay, but obviously then this becomes the answer to this. And obviously we understand therefore that our x here is a real number. Okay, so just look at that and look at that with utmost caution. Let's look at the next equation. If you have here twice x plus 5 out of x equals 11, x not 0. Let's look at this one now and look at what can be done to solve this. What can be done to solve this particular inequality?
Can we say 2x plus 5 over x minus 11 equals to 0?
Yes. You can say 2x plus 5 over x minus 11 equals 0. So obviously, we always do this first. So it's a very, very important step to transpose all the terms to one side of the equation. And then we think of what to do next.
And then we can say...
Right, so we can consider what we call the LCD.
Can we say 2x squared?
The LCD, yes. The LCD is x. If the LCD is x, it means that you take the 2x, you multiply it by x. Then you also have 5 over x, you multiply it by x. You also have minus 11, you multiply it by x, and the result is what? Is 0. At which point you realize that twice x squared, x cancels x, giving us a 5 minus 11x equals 0. Right, so plus 5 equals 0. Number 4. So that we have 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. Minus 11x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, what are the factors of this? That's the question we ask. What are the factors of this? To get the factors, we take the quadratic term, 2x squared, we multiply by 5, and the result is 10x squared. And so with 10x squared, what are the factors of 10x squared that give minus 11? And those obviously are minus 10x and minus x. Right. So we have twice x squared minus 10x minus x plus 5 equals 0. So now, which means that we have twice x, and then x minus 5, and then minus 5. X minus 5 into twice x minus 1. So obviously at this point, we take out the highest common factor. If we take out the highest common factor, we actually are left with 2x and minus 1. And we have this here as a consequence. And then what do we do with this? Right, which means x becomes 5 or x becomes 1 over 2. You get the point. Right, so we have this. We have this, most certainly. Okay, just take note of that and make sure you sort of understand what is happening. Now, certain equations are of the rational type. So if you look at the equations of the rational type, what do we do? Let's look at first this one. Right, if you have x minus 5 into x plus 2, which is equal to minus 6. So now you multiply out, and we have x by x, what you get? You get x squared. X by 2, you get 2x. We have minus 5 by x, you get minus 5x minus 10 equals minus 6. So which is x squared minus 3x, okay? Minus 4, and the result is 0, okay? So what are the factors of this now? Your thoughts, please, or your thought. What do you think are the factors of this at the moment? What are the factors of these at the moment? What are the factors of these at the moment?
That's a
Right.
positive 1 and negative 4.
Okay. Mhm. So in the end, then you have, okay, first you multiply x squared with minus 4. You multiply x squared with minus 4, and what you're getting is minus 4x squared. And then now you look for the factors of minus 4x squared that give minus 3x, and those are minus 4x and x. And therefore, this is x squared minus 4x plus x minus 4 equals 0. Right, so we look for the factors of the first two terms, so getting x minus 4 plus x minus 4 equals 0. And now, if you then have this, you have x into x minus 4, okay, plus x minus 4 equals 0, and you have x minus 4, and this cancels this, giving us exactly at this point x here, x plus 1 equals 0. And this therefore means x is 4 or x is minus 1. Okay, so these are sort of the solutions that we get here to this particular problem. Okay. Let us continue to solve more of the problems here and to find ourselves enjoying a little bit. Enjoying a little bit. Next one. Right, so the next one is as follows. Right, so some equations are of this type. Radical equations. -3 equals 0. Let's look at equations of this type, of the radical type. What do we get here as a consequence? What is the answer to this? And what we do here? Right. What do we do here? What do you think?
We put it in brackets and solve it.
Yeah, you attempt to do that, so we always leave
Get rid of the square roots. Do we get rid of the square root?
Yes, we get rid of the square root first. But now to get rid of the square root, we must make sure the square root is on one side and everything else on the other side. So if the square root is on one side, then we proceed to square both left and right. So that this is 2x plus 1 equals 3 squared is what? Is 9. So we have 2x plus 1 equals 9. We have 9 minus 1. What is 9 minus 1?
8.
Divide by 2, what do you get?
4.
So we have x equals what? 4. X equals 4. X equals 4. With x equals 4. Now, is 4 the correct answer? We need to check. So let us do a check. We're checking x equals 4, so we're going to take the left-hand side of the original equation, which is 2x plus 1 minus 3. The left-hand side is 2x is 4 plus 1 minus 3. Okay, what is 2 by 4? 8 plus 1, which is 9. So you have 9 minus 3. The square root of 9 is what? Is 3 minus 3, which equals what? 0. And this 0 is actually the right-hand side. And hence, indeed, x equals 4 is the solution to this. Is the solution to this. Let's look at another problem. Let us look at another problem. Right, so if you look at 7 here, what do we get from 7? So if you look at 7 here, you have the square root of 2 into 1 minus x, and we close the bracket here, and this is actually x minus 1. And in the end, then you have that you have 2 into 1 minus x. And you square the left, you square the right. So now, if you square both left and right, you have 1 minus x. And you square these, and this is x squared. Okay, square x to get x squared. X times minus 1 times 2. Minus x plus 1. So which means 2 minus 2x equals x squared minus 2x plus 1. So in the end, then, what you're then getting is that 2 minus 2x. 2 minus 2x is equal to x squared minus 2x plus 1. X squared minus 2x plus 1, which means, therefore, you have x squared, okay? You have minus 2x. You bring this one across, it becomes plus 2x because it's minus 2x. If you bring it across, is plus, and then you have 1, and you bring the 2 across, it becomes minus 2.
Negative 2 equals to 0.
Yeah, and then now you have x squared, so you have cancellation. The cancellation law applies, so these two things cancel out, and then you have minus 1 equals 0. Okay, this is the difference of two squares. Difference of two squares, like x squared minus that, so you can write it like this, equals 0, which means, because difference of two squares means that in general, the difference of two squares. Okay, the difference of two squares is that a squared minus b squared is equal to a minus b into a plus b. So that in the end, then what we're getting here is when we have this one squared minus that squared, you can write it like this. And therefore, what we're able to find here is that x is 1 or x is minus 1. Okay, so, okay, that's the answer. But you need to check. You need to continue to check here what you're getting. You need to continue to check here what you're getting. And so, right. So you need to check the answers. So obviously now if you have x, because it's all problems done through squaring, you need to check the answers, because the problem with squaring in mathematics is it introduces unwanted solutions. So one of these might not be the solution to this, but we need to check. So we have x equals 1 or x equals minus 1. So you need to check these. Okay. So in the end, you have that you have the square root of 2 into 1 minus x equals x minus 1. So the left-hand side. Okay, if you have the square root of 2 into 1 minus x. Okay, this is the original equation. 2 into 1 minus x equals x minus 1. Right, so this is the original equation. And we are attempting to check if these solutions, in terms of, want to check which one is correct here, or which one is actually the solution to this. Right, the left, for example. The left-hand side would be just the square root. For x, okay. All right, for x equals 1, so you have 1 minus x. You have 1 minus x. Which is 2 into 1 minus 1. You put 1 in the place of x, and therefore 1 minus 1 is 0. The square root is 0. The right-hand side. The right-hand side is actually x minus 1. When x is 1, you have 1 minus 1. In the place of x, you put 1 here. X is 1. We're checking 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. And clearly, the left-hand side is 0. The right-hand side equals 0. So thus x, thus left is 0 and the right is 0. So right, so hence x is 1. So for the other one, for x equals -1, we have the left-hand side. Right, so for x equals -1, we have the left-hand side, which is the square root of 2 into 1 minus x. So in the end, then what you're getting is that you have the left-hand side, which is the square root of 2 into 1 minus 1. Okay, so this is actually 1 plus 1. Negative by negative is plus, so it's actually 1 plus 1, which is 2 by 2 under the square root. And the square root of 2 by 2 is simply the square root of what? Of 4, which is 2. And then we focus on the right-hand side. Right, the right-hand side of the equation is x minus 1. That is the right-hand side. X minus 1. That is the expression for the right-hand side. But x is minus 1. And this is minus 2. So what we're clearly getting here is that the left-hand side is 2 and the right-hand side is minus 2. Hence x is not equal to -1. Or you can say that x equal to -1 is actually inadmissible. Is an inadmissible solution, or it is an invalid solution to this particular equation. Right, so we have a lot of problems to try. Let's look at this particular equation in front of us. Right, we have the square root of the square root of x minus 1 equals 2. Okay, try this one quickly. Let's see what you're getting. See, in the end, it's about practicing. I mean, you can watch the whole year, but a soccer player who watches the match for the whole year and is put on the pitch will not often perform until it's put on the pitch slowly, slowly. And gradually they learn if they're in action. But if they're just watching at home and you bring them here and you say, come and play for Kaizer Chiefs, that's the reason maybe why Kaizer Chiefs is losing. Maybe the players are not. Well, I mean, they always blame the coach, because if they lose, then they say the coach is the one, because Kaizer Chiefs has been losing lately. So if the soccer team is losing matches, the people normally look at the coach and they say the coach is not a good coach, because why are the players not able to play? You know, the people begin thinking the coach is at fault. Right, so far.
Almost done.
All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Right, so
Okay. So I said
what did you do?
I got rid of the square root first. I put
Good, so we square both sides of the equation.
yes.
And if you square
Then
both sides, the square root goes away and you're left with what is under the square root, and 2 squared is 4, yeah?
I said 4, 2 points, and then I deal with that other x.
Okay, so you can transpose the 1 to the other
And then I
side so that
transpose
you have 1 plus 4. All right, so that now you have the square root of x, and you have 1 plus 4. What is 1 plus 4?
and I said 5.
And then what do we do next?
And then I divided it. I got
Okay, because now we still have the square root here. So there's a square root. So because we want to solve for x, we must remove everything around x, and therefore we remove the square root. And this is 25. Yeah, but this is the answer. So yeah, this is the answer, but is this the correct answer? We check. So we need to check. Right, in number 8, we perform a check because we did a lot of squaring there. So the actual problem itself, so we're checking x equals what? X equals 25. So we're checking x equals 25, and what we have in here is the square root of x minus 1 is equal to 2. The left-hand side. The left-hand side is the square root of this minus 1. And the square root of this becomes, the x is 25, so is the square root of 25 minus 1. And therefore, the square root of 25 is what? The square root of 25 is 5 minus 1. 5 minus 1 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2, and 2 is the right-hand side. And with this observation, hence, x equals 25 is the solution. Is the solution. Or you can say hence x is 25, and that's it, without lots of descriptions here. It can even possibly cause you headache and confusion. And obviously, the examiners do not need a lot of explanations from students. Okay, so that is something that one needs to take note of. Let's look at one more problem. Let us look at one more problem. You have 3 plus the square root of x minus 1 is equal to x. Okay, so how do we solve this one? So I'm giving you a minute. Quickly, please try it. And then we shall do it together. Okay. Please try it. Then we shall do it together. And please let me know when you're done. 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 Okay, so up just at this point, I know that you're still trying. First things first, we need to leave the square root on one side and move everything else to the other side. Here is the square root, and we move everything else And
see.
minus 3 is what we need to move to the right-hand side. Right. Is that right? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I did that, and then at the bottom I squared x minus 1, and I put brackets in the 2. Then I
Yes.
squared minus 3.
Good. And then what do we get when we have this? So
I was
when you
not done.
okay, that's fine. X minus 1. If you square, the square root goes away. I'm happy that you're trying, which is excellent stuff. And I'm going to give you about some 2 homework problems or 3 homework problems to try, so that you can perfect your problem solving skills. Right. So we have x now. We square x. You have x squared. Then you have here minus 6x, because you multiply this
Minus
with that. You multiply x by 3 by 2, we get minus 6x plus 9. So, so you have x minus 1, which is x squared minus 6x plus 9, which means x squared, you move the x to the other side, which is minus 7x, and you move the 1 to the other side, which becomes plus 10. Right, so now what are the factors of these? You multiply x squared with 10, and you have x squared multiplied with 10. And this becomes exactly 10x squared. Upon further exam, we're looking for the factors of 10. That will give minus 7. What are they? They're minus 5x together with minus 2x. And at this point, then what we have here clearly is that we have x squared minus 5x minus 2x together with 10 is 0, which means x is x minus 5 minus 2 into x minus 5 equals 0, which means x minus 5 into x minus 2 equals 0. We're looking at number 9. And which means you have x minus 5 into x minus 2 equals 0, which means x is 5 or x is 2. Okay, because we squared both sides, we need to check which one is correct here, because one of them is potentially incorrect, but we need to check. So we take out the original equation, which is exactly this one. So we have 3 plus the square root of x minus 1. Right, we have 3 plus the square root of x minus 1 equals x. So what you need to check quickly is if you put 5 here, what is 5 minus 1? 5 minus 1 is a 4, and the square root of 4 is what?
it's 2.
It's 2, and 3 plus 2 is 5. And the right-hand side is also 5. Okay, so in that means therefore you're on point. So this is correct. And then what about 2? 2 minus 1 is what? Is 1. The square root of 1 is 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. And it is equal to 2. So this one is not the case, or this one is invalid. So now, because this one is invalid, we agree therefore that the only answer is x equals 5 over there. Right, so we continue. We continue to solve these particular problems. And now let us solve another little question over here in front of us. I'm going to put another question. So we have solved the problem, and we can remove this part here and make sure that this is removed. Right, so what we're then getting in the end is that we need to solve the next problem, and the next problem to be solved is this one here. Right, this one here. Okay, there's certain exponential equations want us to sort of discuss. Let me see what else can be done. Okay, obviously we're gonna return and do more equations, but let us look at this one. Right, let us look at this particular equation. 10. We have the square root of 2x plus 5 minus 3 divided by the square root of 2x plus 5, and with this said, it is equal to -2. Okay, let's look at this, and you want to solve this particular equation, and we solve this step by step. And how to solve this step by step? We proceed as follows. To solve this particular equation step by step, because we can see something that occurs twice. The square root of 2x plus 5 occurs twice. So we must let the square root of 2x plus 5 be equal to k, so that you have 3 over k equals -2. Okay, and this is called the k method. Yes, it's called the k method. It's a great Levin method. The next thing now is to say at this point, if you have this, you multiply it through by the k. We consider the lowest common denominator, the LCD, and the LCD is only what? It's only k. And if we do that, you multiply, if it is k, so you multiply k by the LCD minus 3 over k, you multiply by k, but also you have -2k. Right, number 10, you have the following. Right, we have k by k, which is k squared. And then the k cancels and you have -3. And this is equal to -2k. So in the end, then you have k squared plus 2k minus 3 equals 0. Right, which means that you have k squared minus 3. And this is -3k squared. Multiply the k squared -3. We look for the factors of -3k squared that give 2k. And those are actually 3k and -k. So that now you have k squared plus 3k minus k minus 3 equals 0. Right, you take out the highest common factor here, which is k plus 3 minus into k plus 3 equals 0. And this is k plus 3 into k minus 1 equals 0. 10. Right, so what we then have is that you have k plus 3 into k minus 1 equals 0. We have k plus 3 into k minus 1 equals 0. And this is k equals -3 or k equals 1. Right, if this is the case, what do we then have here? Okay, but we need to remember something. We need to remember that the square root of 2x plus 5 equals k. So we're going to put here the square root of 2x plus 5 equals -3. Okay, but it is equal to k, the square root. Okay, so first things first, the square root is equal to k. So that now we're going to have here the square root of 2x plus 5, and this square root equals -3 because k is exactly that. K is exactly -3, or we have the square root of 2x plus 5 equals 1. So number 10, you have the square root of 2x plus 5 equals -3. or the square root of 2x plus 5 equals 1. And therefore you have 2x plus 5, and you square the left, and you square the right. Okay, also here you have 2x. You have 2x plus 5. And you square this one, and you square that. Which means, therefore, when you square this, it is exactly 2x plus 5 is equal to, if you square the minus 3, it becomes a 9. And then you have 2x equals 9 minus 5 is a 4. And you divide both left and right by 2, you get a 2. You square both sides so that you have 2x plus 5, which equals 1, which means you have 2x equals to 1 minus 5. What is 1 minus 5? It is minus 4, and you divide both left and right, you get minus 2. Right. If you divide minus 4 by 2, you get minus 2. Okay, let's check quickly. If you put 2 here, what do you get? If you put 2 there, you have 2. Okay, because x is 2 here. X is 2 here. You put it here into the original square root equation. So you have 2 by 2, which is 4. Plus 5, which is 9. The square root of 9 is not minus 3. So this one is invalid. Right, it is invalid, or you can say that x is not 2. Minus 2, you put it here, is 2 times minus 2 is minus 4. 5 minus 4 is a 1. The square root of 1 is 1. So this is indeed a correct answer to this, or it is the answer to this particular problem. Okay, we have used the K method to solve these particular questions. Let us try more problems. Here are 2 homework exercises. So the next 2 problems form part of your home activity. Right, now number 1 of the home activity is going to be, obviously we're requesting you to solve for x. When you have, for instance, 3x minus 7 is equal to x minus 4. Number 2, when you have the square root. The square root of 2x minus 3. Right, so 2x minus 3, and right, 2x minus 3 minus 3 minus 2 minus 3, 2x minus 3 minus 2. Okay, now solve for x in these 2 cases, and yeah, we will meet again. Okay, so we have obviously solved a wide range of problems, and we shall continue to solve more problems. So